I'm
This meeting is
expecting that
being
there might be
recorded.
people coming in late.
Friend said
Oh,
she's
you
waiting
recorded that.
for hosts to join. I don't know.
I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
Laura, Linda, Laura.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Laura.
Hi.
Are you new? Are you new? Are you Donna's friend? Welcome.
Yeah, I've known Donna since we're like, what, five, maybe?
Yeah, 30, 55
Oh,
years.
nice.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And we're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
What I'm going to do, okay, so this is all recording. Yeah.
Mhm.
So tonight, I don't see Libby yet. Tonight, well, I just want to welcome, there's some new people who were not here last week who have joined since, and Laura's one of them. So welcome to our endeavor of fasting from fear and anxiety that we started last week. And this is what I think I'm going to do in terms of sending the replays out. There'll be one link. All of the replays will be put under one playlist called 40-Day Journey. It'll be the playlist, and every week will be under that one link. So I don't have to worry, did somebody join late and they didn't get last week's and I got to, you know what I mean? So you're going to see one link, which is for the playlist in YouTube, and then you'll every recording will be put there. And hey Trish, hey Libby.
There.
So hopefully Hi. Hopefully the internet gods are good to us, and where I am is pretty rural, and whenever there's weather challenges, it's likely to affect the internet. So we're just going to be thankful that it's going to go well ahead of time. And if you are new, I'm kind of just yapping as I'm letting more people in. If you are new, this is a 40-day fast. And just like any fast, it's a conscious choice every day. I don't know if you've ever tried to fast before, but I've fasted like a regular fast with hours during the day of I'm not going to eat until 4 o'clock, like intermittent fasting. And around 11 o'clock and at 1 o'clock, it's like I got to make a conscious choice to hold off till 4. It's not something that just easily happens, right? So this is also a fast, and you're going to notice your patterns and your typical ways of thinking coming up. And it's an option or an opportunity to say, hold on, there it is. And what I work on with my clients all the time is that being present is the key to changing anything. You need to be present. Otherwise, if you're not present in the moment, you're not even conscious that something's happening. You're just in it. So practicing presence is going to be key. So I'm going to invite you to do that as you go through the 40 days of fasting. And as more people come on, I'll be letting them in, but I'm going to hand this over to Kristi, who will have you in her very capable hands. And Kristi, just for the new people, do you want to let them know who you are and what you do again?
Sure. Yeah, I'm so happy that you are all here with us tonight. This is just, I think, a really special opportunity for all of us to come together and set aside stress and worry and all the things going on in our lives. And so I think, as Linda was saying, I just want to invite you guys to be present for this next hour to, close other tabs on your computer or put your phone aside and just give yourself the gift of really being present with us for this next 45 minutes to an hour, however long it ends up being. And just to introduce myself, I'm Kristi Siriano. I am a board certified functional wellness coach. And I work primarily with midlife women, helping them reverse autoimmune disease, thyroid dysfunction, hormone imbalances, shed excess weight, get back the energy and the joy in their life that they want to have. And as a functional medicine practitioner, I look at the body as an integrated whole, but I also know, as Linda is well informed on the interrelationship between the mental, the emotional, the energetic, and the spiritual, as well as the physical body. So I think it's so important that we understand all of those layers and work on all of those different levels. Um, if you weren't here last week, and even if you were here last week, Linda said something that I thought was just really, really important and so powerful that I want to draw your attention back to on this theme of presence. And that is that so much of our stress and anxiety comes from focusing on the past, worrying about things that have happened, replaying conversations, ruminating about things that didn't go the way we wanted them to, ways that we've been hurt, building up resentment about things, or worrying about the future and things that may or may not happen, right? So I think one of the most powerful things we can do is just to bring ourselves back to the present moment and keep our mind focused on exactly what we're experiencing and enjoying right here. So again, I just want to give you guys so much thanks and gratitude for being here with us tonight and encourage you just to be all in and be present with us here tonight. I want to share my screen with you guys here if I'm able to do that. Oh, yep. Yes, Linda.
While you do while you're pulling up what you want to share, can I just lead us in a little presence exercise? And Libby, did you want to do an opening prayer?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
Let me know when you want me to do
Okay,
that.
why don't actually you can do that. You can do that first, and maybe that's all the presence that we'll need. Like maybe that'll be what pulls people in. Just focus on the words of the prayer. Just let it sit into your heart. And I invite you to put aside whatever's happened today, whatever happened over the weekend, come into this call, feel the words of Libby's prayer, and then Kristi, you could take it over. How's that?
Perfect.
Lord, I thank you
Okay.
so much for tonight. I thank you that we have this opportunity to pour back into ourselves. Very often we're people who give and give and give, and often we don't take the time to receive. So, Lord, I pray that you would be in the middle of this space, be in the middle of this time, give Kristi just the words to say, just the clarity of mind and speech. I pray that our ears would be open to hear and our eyes would be open to see the truth that she has to bring to us tonight. And I ask that we would just be able to block out other distractions that are happening right now and really just be able to focus in on connecting with you, connecting with ourselves, connecting with each other. I thank you that you have promised that your joy is our strength. And even on days when we're not doing it perfectly, even if we're having a Monday, I thank you that you're in the middle of that Monday. And you have already gone before us and provided. So Lord, I pray that you would just give us a presence, a calm, and a strength to be able to really focus in this next period of time and just really dig into what you have us to learn. I pray that you would open our hearts and we would open our hearts so that we're willing and able to receive. In your name, amen.
Amen.
And thank you. Thank you, Libby.
Yes.
Okay. So with that said, here we go, Kristi.
Okay. I'm going to share something with you guys. This is called the polyvagal chart. Linda knows that I love this chart. And I'm going to talk more about this the next time we meet. I want to get into more about the ways that anxiety and fear show up in our body. But for tonight, I just want to introduce this concept to those of you who may not be familiar with this. This is, again, it's called the polyvagal chart, and it was put together by a brilliant man by the name of Stephen Porges. And basically what it shows us is the three nervous system states. And where we want to live most of our time is down here in the green. This is what he calls the social engagement nervous system state or the ventral vagal state. And this is where our nervous system feels safe. And we are connected to the beautiful people around us. We are curious and open. We are compassionate and mindful. We feel joy. We feel grounded. We feel that inner peace. And, this is where most of us want to live most of the time. But where most of us live, most of the time is up here in the red or the orange. And this is a sympathetic dominant state, which we refer to as fight or flight. And this is where we tend to experience that fear and anxiety that we're talking about over these next 40 days. And we're all trying to fast from right? To help us shift back down in here into the green. But I can tell you from personal experience that when you are stuck in fear and anxiety, it feels like you're stuck. It feels impossible to shift
No,
back
what's
down
in the
here.
McGuire? I just have a Zoom call, so I stayed here. I can't get it over,
So, what I
and I
want
can
to
get
talk
it
about
here. So
tonight is just some of the things that I've learned over the years that have helped me to make this transition. And as I said, we'll talk more about this chart and what's happening in the body the next time I get to talk with you guys. But if we live here in this state for too long, our bodies, which are beautiful and amazing and perfectly designed in every way, know that this is not sustainable. Living with elevated cortisol and adrenaline and in this sympathetic dominant state, this is meant to be a short-term emergency response, right? But if we stay here for too long, then we move up here into the freeze state where we shift from anxiety into depression. And most of us, as I said, are living here. I don't know if one of these states resonates with you guys more than another, but certainly in the women that I work with and where I spent a good chunk of my life, several decades of my life, was most of my time in this red and orange. And what I want to share with you guys tonight is some tools that you can use to very intentionally shift back down here so that you're not having the physical ramifications, but you're also not having the mental and emotional and spiritual ramifications of being here. Yes, Linda.
Can I talk? So, teacher, what I wanted to point out, as this chart shows, is see this line. This is a normal nervous system where we're feeling safe, and then something happens. We go up and deal with it. Oh my gosh, I got an email, or I was in a car accident, or whatever, and then we go back into safety. So this rhythm is very normal, right? That's where we want to live. But this line is staying up there and not coming back down, and actually staying up there so long that we go into just being numb or depressed or apathetic when it lasts long enough. So I just wanted to point out that's what these black lines are. We want to be. It's not like we're not supposed to be activated or respond. And then I want to point out one other thing, and then I'll let Kristi take it back. But ventral vagal, if you're familiar with anatomy, ventral means the front. Dorsal means the back, like the dorsal fin of a shark is the back. So ventral to me means I'm activated. I'm living where my heart is. My heart in the front of my body. Dorsal is back here, the reptilian part of the brain. So I just like to put it all together in my brain because then I really can see it's not just words. It's like, wow, I really can see what's happening when I'm in my heart. I'm present and I'm joyful, and I'm meant to be able to move back and forth in my nervous system. That's all. Thank you,
Yes,
Kristi.
love that. Love that. Thank you for adding that. And I love the emphasis on the heart too, as related to the ventral vagal state. When we're leading from the heart, we feel and experience all these things, right? And can you imagine, just looking at the world around us when we watch the news, when we see the way people are reacting to different things on social media, you can see very clearly which state most people are living in, just by the way they respond to the people around them and to the things that they read on social media that they might not agree with. So if we have the skills to seamlessly flow between these two states, as Linda was saying, that's what this black line represents. And if I could make one change to this diagram, I would make this black line more in the green and maybe like only a couple of little bumps up into the red or the orange, because we want to live most of our time down here, but we should be able to flow seamlessly between both states as needed. This is a healthy stress response when we need it to rise to respond to an emergency situation, right? Or when we're under pressure to give a speech or something at work, or our child is in danger, right? This is a healthy, natural stress response. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just that we don't want to live here all the time. So I want to share with you guys some things that will hopefully help you to make that shift, be very intentional. And I think one of the first things that we need to do is just be aware of when we are moving up into that orange or red fight or flight space. So I would encourage you guys to think about when you start feeling fear and anxiety, where do you experience that in your body? For most of us, you're going to feel that in a specific place in your body. And I see Linda's closing her eyes right now, which I love. And maybe that would be something that would help each of you to just become aware. If you close your eyes and just breathe for a minute and ask yourself, when I'm feeling fear and anxiety, where is it showing up in my body? Where am I feeling that primarily? For me, it's in my chest. Always. I start to feel this tightness in my chest. And, I lived with pretty severe generalized anxiety for a large chunk of my life. And to me, it was just normal. It was just the way it was. I didn't even realize that it had a name. I didn't even realize that everyone didn't have those feelings of fear and anxiety and that sometimes feeling of impending doom, even. Libby says diaphragm. Yes. Maybe for some of you, it's in your belly. Maybe for some of you, it's in your neck or your shoulders. You probably start to feel some tension rising wherever that is. So if you have that awareness, then you can pause and say, oh, wait a second. I feel some fear and anxiety rising. What do I need to do to shift this? And this incredibly empowering thing, you guys, is that you can shift it. We get to choose our nervous system state. We a lot of times think that we're just kind of victims of what's going on around us. And if our lives are stressful and crazy and there's all these things going on that we can't control, that we also can't control this, our nervous system state. And that's not true. If you have the tools, you absolutely can shift your own nervous system state. And that is one of the things that Linda spends a lot of time working with her clients on. I spend a lot of time with my clients teaching them the tools to shift their own nervous system state. So as I got older and started to realize what was happening in my body and that it had a name, and that, oh, this is anxiety. This is what people mean when they're talking about anxiety, is this horrible chest crushing feeling I have, right? I started to refer to it as chest crushing anxiety because for me, that's where it lives in my body. And my solution to this was to try to control everything. And not surprisingly, that didn't really work, right? But I tried to work harder. I tried to be the most prepared person in every situation, right? I was a 4.0 student. I was a good daughter. I tried to be a good wife and a good mom. I became, over time, what I kind of laughingly now describe as an OCD type A perfectionist control freak, because I thought that's how I should deal with this anxiety I was feeling, right? If I could control everything around me, then maybe I wouldn't feel this way, right? And of course, that did not shift me from that red and orange zone back down into the green. That kept me up there in more fear and more anxiety with more cortisol and adrenaline. And over time, I started to realize this was really harming my health. I had a variety of hormone imbalances that led to recurrent miscarriages. I was diagnosed with possible PCOS because I had some of the signs and symptoms, but not all of them. And my doctors didn't know what other label to put on what was going on. I went on to have a lot of autoimmune symptoms, and it was also harming my relationships. It was harming my marriage. It was harming my relationship with my kids because I was imposing this control, this effort to control, and this perfectionism on them, right? And that wasn't fair to them. Um, and it completely stole my inner peace and joy in life. And so as I started to realize how much this was harming my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual wellness, my relationships, and realizing that it wasn't giving me the life experience I wanted to have, it was actually preventing it. I had to figure out what I needed to do differently. And so instead of trying to control everything and everyone around me, trying to make it all perfect all the time, I started adopting some new beliefs. And I was very intentional about these new beliefs that I started taking on, and I started gathering evidence to support those beliefs. And then I started acting on those beliefs. And as I took on the new beliefs, I started living and behaving in accordance with those beliefs, and I did that consistently. It created a completely new identity, a completely new personality that was no longer this OCD type A control freak perfectionist. And I can't say that I'm 1,000% all the time perfectly recovered from this. I still catch myself in these moments, but I have this new identity. I have all these new beliefs, and it would have seemed impossible to me in my very early days as a mom, my very early days as practicing law, which was my first career, to completely diametrically make this shift. And so, these are kind of the 3 steps I want to encourage you guys to remember and take away from this. The belief comes first. Belief always precedes behavior. Then together, the beliefs and the consistent reinforcement of those beliefs through my thoughts, through my actions, built a new identity and a new personality. Joe Dispenza calls this a new personal reality. He says we create a new personality and along with it, a new personal reality. And I very much believe that. So I'm going to offer to you guys some of the new beliefs that I adopted. If they resonate with you, take them as your own, or maybe you modify them. Maybe you think of other things as I'm talking that are beliefs that will help you to shift from that stressed, anxious, fearful, fight or flight state back into that parasympathetic, dominant, ventral vagal state where we're leading with our heart. And as a functional medicine practitioner, we call that the rest, digest, heal, and thrive state. So one of the beliefs that I adopted, and remember, I'm a total OCD control freak perfectionist at this point, and I wanted everything around me to be perfect. Every vacation, I would plan our itinerary out, every holiday, everything had to be perfect. So I adopted the belief that life is an adventure. Right? And that is not how I was living my life at the time, that life was a fun adventure. But what I realized is that we find the most joy in life when we just embrace what's going on, embrace whatever's happening. We make the best memories when things don't go according to plan, right? Think back to, the holidays or vacations with your kids when they were little, or recent memories that you've had with friends or your partner. The greatest memories are when things go horribly awry and we're all laughing about it later and talking about how crazy that situation was. That's when the best memories are made. Those are the things that we remember and laugh about and bond over and connect over later, right? So I wrote this new belief for myself that life is an adventure. I find the most joy in life and make the best memories with my family when things don't go according to plan. And my brother-in-law helped me reinforce this belief by one time when he and my sister and their family, when their girls were small, they were coming to visit us, and they live in South Dakota. We live in Indiana, so it's a 2-day drive for them. They had some other stops planned along the way, and he sent me their itinerary and said, We think we're going to be here on this day, but this is the plan from which to deviate. And so I printed their itinerary out and had it on the fridge, and it said the plan from which to deviate. And I've always remembered that, and I love it so much because, right, it's just a rough plan. And it's totally fine if we have to deviate from it. It's totally fine if we have to be flexible. Remember, life is an adventure. So I tell myself, I repeat these beliefs to myself over and over and over. Life's an adventure. I'm someone who embraces all of life's adventures, all of the ups and downs, all the craziness, all the chaos, because that is what makes life memorable. That's what gives me the greatest fun and the most joy in life. And even if I didn't totally believe it in the beginning, I kept reinforcing that belief to myself over and over, and I kept finding evidence to support that belief. Another belief that I adopted is that perfectionism is a myth. It's not even possible, right? None of us are perfect. We don't have that ability to be perfect. And it's ridiculous to put that kind of pressure on myself to try to be perfect. So I adopted the belief that perfectionism is a myth. It's not possible. And trying to impose that on myself is completely ridiculous. I adopted another belief that I don't have to be perfect in order to be seen, heard, loved, and appreciated. And in fact, perfectionism was a barrier in a lot of ways to me having the love and connection and support that I longed for. So, I think we tend to put perfect people up on a pedestal sometimes and think that they're in another league than we are. We might look up to them, we might admire them from a distance, but we don't connect with them on a close personal level. They're not going to be our best friends. We're not going to enjoy them and laugh with them. And so again, I adopted this belief that I don't have to be perfect. In fact, being imperfect is probably what makes my friends love me, because they can laugh at me and with me, and we can all just have fun together and connect together. And again, I collected evidence to support this belief. One of my pieces of evidence was that one of my good friends, who we spent a lot of time with when my kids were little, lived just down the street from us, and she would invite us over to play, and her house was always a disaster. I mean, total disaster. Toys everywhere, piles of laundry everywhere. And we didn't care, right? We went, we relaxed, we hung out, we had fun. She might sit there and fold her laundry while we talked. And it was great. If she would have felt like her house had to be perfect before she could invite us over, we never would have gone over to play. And we wouldn't have had so much fun, so many memories with them, or the friendship and connection that we had with them. My husband always told me whenever I was frantically cleaning to get ready for people to come over, Kristi, your real friends don't care if your house is clean. And I didn't believe him at first until I started to realize, oh, he's right. I would much rather go over to my friend Kelly's house and hang out when her house isn't perfect and clean, and we don't feel bad if we mess something up. The kids can drag out whatever toys they want and they don't care. They don't feel like they have to be perfect. We don't have to feel like we have to be perfect. And it's so much better. So, I also realized that, all of those birthdays and holidays that I was so busy planning to be the perfect celebrations for my family that I didn't even get to enjoy, and probably stole some of the joy from them as well, because I was so worried about everything going according to plan and everything being perfect. Was just completely unnecessary stress that I was imposing on myself for no reason. It wasn't benefiting anyone else around me. It was harming my peace and joy. It was harming my relationships. It was taking away from my family's joy in those moments. And I just had to let go of some of those expectations of how it was supposed to look and embrace the chaos and the messiness and give myself permission to go with the flow. Because remember, life is an adventure, right? So I'm condensing what was probably several years of work for me down into, a very short time for you guys, so that I hope that you can take some of these beliefs on yourself. Take the ones that resonate with you, leave the rest. Think about the places in your life where you feel the stress rising. Think about what are the beliefs that may be causing that stress to rise in my body, and what is a new belief that I could write instead. So another set of beliefs that I returned to was my faith. And I'm a pastor's kid. I grew up in a Christian home. And as Libby told you guys last week, Linda and Libby and I all have Christian backgrounds. We're going to frame this in terms of God and what we believe about God. If that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. I believe that God created the laws of the universe to be what they are. I believe he created the science to be what it is. And I love the fact that I think what the Bible teaches is consistent with what we see in the world around us and what we can observe from science. So whether you prefer the scientific perspective or the more faith-based perspective, either is fine. But I have a sign in my office that says, "Let your faith be bigger than your fear." And one of the big things for me was kind of coming back to what I was taught my entire life about God's sovereignty and God's being in control of the universe and always looking out for me. And Romans 8:28 says, "All things work together for good to those who love God and are called according to his purpose." And so I would remind myself of that I don't need to worry about what is going to happen. I can rest in that faith if I really believe that God is sovereign, if I really believe what the Bible teaches us about God's love for us, and that all things work together for good, then I don't need to worry about what's going to happen. I don't have to try to control everything to make it look like I want it to be, because his plan may be so much better than anything I can imagine. So one of my favorite kind of mantras that I would tell myself is this or something better, right? If what I'm planning doesn't work out, whatever happens is going to be so much better. So much better. Another verse that I really like is Jeremiah 17:7-8. And it says, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, whose hope is in the Lord, for he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river and will not fear when the heat comes, but its leaf will be green and will not be anxious in the year of drought." So if we are that tree that's planted by the water, whose hope is in the Lord, we don't have to fear the drought. We don't have to fear anything that comes. And so all of these different things are beliefs that helped me to, over time, learn to make that shift from that stressed, anxious, fearful state back into that green ventral vagal state where I could be connected, where I could feel safe in my nervous system, in my body, where I could have the health that I wanted to have, the life experience that I wanted to have. And I think it's really important not just to have the beliefs up here in our brain, but to learn them in the body as well. And this is a lot of the somatic work that Linda does that I think is so incredibly powerful. So each time I built a new belief, I reminded myself over and over. I shifted my actions to be consistent with that belief. And I had to do it over and over and over again, right? As many times as it took, because I was literally creating new neural pathways in the brain. And if you think about your brain and the neural pathways in your brain as the ruts in a dirt road, when we live in a stressed, anxious state, we're building ruts of stress and anxiety and fear and worry. And we're going to fall back into those ruts and we're going to stay in those ruts unless we are very intentional about pulling ourselves out. So that's what I was doing with these new beliefs is I was pulling myself out of that rut every time I reminded myself, oh, wait, life is an adventure, right? Oh, wait, I don't have to be perfect. Oh, wait. It was Jeremiah 17, 7 and 8, Cheryl, is that verse. And each time you pull yourself out of that rut, you're going to fall back in, right? Don't beat yourself up. Don't shame yourself. Don't say, oh, there I go again. Observe, notice it's happening, and say, oh, yeah, I'm pulling myself right back out of this rut. I'm going to remind myself of one of these new beliefs that I've adopted. And I'm going to support those beliefs with some somatic practices as well that help me to store those in my body. So one of the things that I did was if I was running late for an appointment or I made some horrible typo in an email that I was sending out. And remember, I had to be perfect, so no typos. Right? I would literally throw my hands up in the air and laugh and say, oh, well, oh, well. And even if I was not feeling that way at all, I would make myself laugh. I would make myself throw my hands up in the air and say, oh, well. And that simple physical manifestation of that new belief shifted my nervous system state. Okay. So what you do with your body is so powerful. As you're reminding yourself of these new beliefs, create physical movement that is going to shift your nervous system. So maybe it's just going for a walk. For me, walking is really powerful too while I'm building new beliefs. I walk, I don't have any headphones in, don't have my phone. I'm just enjoying the nature around me. I'm breathing and I'm reminding myself of all of the reasons that these new beliefs are true and my old beliefs were wrong and crazy. Right? Another thing that was really, really effective for me is going back to this verse in Jeremiah, right, about the tree planted by the water. I would close my eyes and visualize myself. I would stand up kind of with my feet shoulder width apart. And this is even better if you're outside with bare feet. But I would just close my eyes and imagine that I was that tree, right? And my feet were so firmly rooted in the soil. And I would just sway, and I would imagine that the breeze may come, the winds may blow, the storms may come, but nothing is going to knock me over, right? I don't have to be perfect, right? Everything doesn't have to go according to plan. No matter what happens, no matter what worst case scenario I can conjure up in my brain, no matter what happens, I am totally fine. I'm just going to sway in the breeze like this incredibly strong, powerful oak tree that nothing can blow over. So all of these different tools I just offer to you. You can, again, adopt the ones that resonate or come up with your own based on some of these ideas. But these are all different things that helped me to know that, I'm this oak tree and nothing is going to harm me. Nothing can take me outside of the blessings that God has for me. And I don't remember if I mentioned last week, I have 18-year-old triplets. And when they were young, obviously my pregnancy was incredibly stressful. Their birth was incredibly stressful. It was just not an easy period of life, having 3 premature babies who spent 10 weeks in the NICU and came home on heart monitors. And it was not an easy period of our life. And when it was time for them to start kindergarten and we were trying to decide where they were going to go to school, it was one of the most stressful decisions that I've ever had to make. And it seemed like everything was riding on this decision, even though, it was kindergarten. In retrospect, that seems silly. But at the time, to me, it felt like this monumental decision. I was so stressed. I was so anxious. And they ended up in a great place. Over the years, intervening, however many years they've been in school now, 13, 14 years, um, I am in such a different place that right now they're all applying for college. And I've got three kids. We're looking at paying for college for three kids at once, trying to figure out where the right place for them to be is. And I keep reflecting back on just how incredibly stressed I was about kindergarten and how different I feel about this decision and how much faith and confidence I have that they're going to end up where they're supposed to be. And I don't need to control the outcome. I'm going to help them. I'm going to advise them. I'm going to support them as best as I can. I'm going to pray about it for sure and pray for God to guide them to where they're supposed to be. But I'm not worried about it. I have complete faith that they're going to end up where they're supposed to be. And it's such a stark contrast to me. And all of these different tools and all of the things that Linda and Libby and I are going to share with you guys over these 40 days played a role in me making that shift over the last 15 years. And that's what I want for you guys. And I hope that we can condense that so it doesn't take you 15 years. It takes you 40 days. So with that, I'm going to ask Libby and Linda what they want to add to that.
Some thoughts, but Libby had raised. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Libby.
I just wanted to tag on to what you're saying, Kristi, because I had four kids with very stressful pregnancies and births and all that exciting stuff too. And your body can really get in some habits, especially when you've had a lot of physiologic stress. And so sometimes it's not because you aren't thinking the right thoughts or you're not like, doing enough whatever. Sometimes our body just gets stuck in a habit. It gets stuck in a rut, and it takes time for our bodies, even if our brains get it and our hearts get it, like sometimes our bodies just need time to recalibrate. And so I just wanted to, first of all, you're a total rock star warrior for going through all that. Amazing. Um, and I think the other thing I just want to say is just while we've been sitting here, one of my kids and I was a teacher in a homeschool, like kind of combo group for a lot of years. It was like combo of regular school and homeschool hybrid. That was the word I was looking for. Sorry, long Monday. And one of the things I've had one of my kids and one of my students, former students, just reach out to me just since we've been here, and they've just said, "I love you." And one of the things that I really wanted to, that I did not do well in the beginning of my parenting journey was trying to be perfect, just like what you're talking about, because when you've been through trauma like that, especially, you want to make sure there are no more hitches. Like you've had enough unexpected for you the whole rest of your life. And that's not the way the world works. But I think what I learned through, homeschooling, I homeschooled almost 30 years, was that by the end, my students and my kids learned more from watching me not do it perfect and talking through my failures, talking through my learning moments than I ever taught in the early years, trying to show them exactly perfectly how to do everything. And so allowing them to learn from my mistakes is, well, it's humbling, first of all, but it's also really powerful because they realize they don't have to get it all perfect to start with. And also that if and when they make mistakes, because they will, they're not like they're going to have a safe place to land with you and you're not going to be judging them. And that's so powerful because a lot of people in our lives, whether it's our kids, our spouses, our friends, our neighbors, whoever, how do people see us? Not to put more pressure on you, but to put less pressure on you. I'm very open with my imperfections, and that creates stronger, better relationships because people know that they can trust what I'm saying is true, but also they don't have to perform to be in a relationship with me. And that's so powerful, and that's really what I got out of tonight. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Yes, 100%. I've worked really hard to do the same thing, Libby, and be really open with my kids when I make mistakes and we talk about it. I ask forgiveness when I need to ask forgiveness because that gives them permission to not be perfect and to not impose that same stress that I put on myself on themselves.
I was thinking when you were talking, Kristi alluded to like neural pathways, and throughout the whole conversation, like the beliefs. So our neural pathways, those ruts that our tires get stuck in, a couple of things are really true about how the brain works. And one is that your brain will find what it already believes. So what I wanted to do is ask you right now, what are the beliefs that are keeping you fearful? So Kristi gave you some great examples, and we're going to talk about like what you can do this coming week around your beliefs. But let's take a step back. What are the ruts that you are stuck in right now? So your brain, so let's just say you have a belief that, I don't know, somebody is manipulative, or you can't trust, you can never trust. I want to say politicians, but that's a hot topic. I want to say doctors, but we're all into functional medicine, so maybe that's a hot topic. But I'm trying to think of something. Uh, yeah, confirmation bias is a real thing. Something where you might say you can't trust so and so, or let's just pick a particular person. If you have that belief, then no matter what that person or that group of people do, you're going to say to yourself, yeah, what do they want from me? Or what's really the agenda there, or something, because you already have the belief. If you have the belief about yourself, and this is where I'm going to encourage you, and we're going to take a couple minutes before we get off the call, and I'm going to encourage you to expand on it throughout the week. What are the limiting beliefs that I have? The limiting beliefs about myself. Because those are the things where you're finding evidence on a daily basis to support it, and you're not finding evidence contrary to that until you start to build it. That's what Kristi said multiple times. I built, the belief. But I think really recognizing what are the beliefs that are stopping me is really helpful first, so that you stop feeding those. Did you ever hear that story of the grandfather and the grandson? Two wolves are caught in a well, and the grandson says, which one's going to survive? And the grandfather says, whichever one you feed. I just really condensed that down into two sentences. You know what I mean? Right? So the belief that you feed is what's going to thrive. So if you have a belief, I can't do this. If you have a belief, there's not enough money for me. If you have a belief, whatever that is, you are feeding it every day when you notice, when your brain notices evidence to support it. And there will be plenty of evidence to support it. So if you say, I can't do this, and now you do one thing and it doesn't come back with the results you want to see, I can't do it. So right now, write down what you think are your top 3 beliefs that are keeping you fearful, that are keeping you anxious. Not just circumstances about your life, but maybe you really believe the circumstances of your life, and that's going to stop you. Because if you're in a particular circumstance and you believe that is my life, there you are. Oh, thanks, Libby, you rock. I need you in my life all day long doing these, like, note taking for me. That
And
would
if
be
you
so
have
helpful.
trouble identifying those beliefs, I would take it back even one step further and just pay attention throughout your day to where's the stress in my body? Where do I feel it? Where do I feel fear and anxiety in my body? And in those moments, what's going on up here? What are the thoughts or the beliefs that are behind that fear coming up right now? Oh, I'm feeling stressed because I'm not doing this perfectly. Oh, I'm feeling stressed because I'm worried about something that is going to happen in the future. So start to identify those things and then dig a little bit deeper and ask yourself, what's behind that? What's behind that until you get to that belief?
And
It might be
Cheryl's
a belief.
asking, how do we figure
Oh,
that
go ahead.
out? How do we find the clues that help us lead back? And I know you talked about that a little bit, Kristi, and maybe you can share a little bit more. For me, what I look for is, what thoughts do I wake up with first thing in the morning that maybe aren't helpful? Because that's usually the soundtrack of my life that might not be functional that I need to think about. Do I wake up like, wow, it's going to be a great day? Or am I like, here I go again? Probably not going to be able to make any progress with blah, blah, blah. Do I sound like Eeyore or do I sound like, Piglet? Which, the angel or the demon on my shoulder? Which one am I sounding like? And whenever I'm hearing that, that tends to be something. I'm like, oh, wait, that's first thing in the morning, that you don't have your filter on yet. You don't have your armor on yet to be, fooling yourself into thinking you believe something different. So that is for me my number one spot check is, what am I waking up believing? And we can change that, but it's just a really good, because at least for me, I can't fool myself yet at that point. I'm not awake and alert enough to do that yet. So that's my thought.
Yeah, and I think it's in those moments too, when you are feeling fearful or anxious or worried, what are the thoughts that are cropping up? And if those are thoughts that aren't serving you, what's the belief behind it? And how do I shift those thoughts?
I thought of another one too, and that's like maybe things that were often said to you. Sorry, my chief barking officers are helping. Things that were often said to you as a young child, or not even said to you, but said around you. That can be a clue
Mhm.
too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And another thing, so you can sort of in your note taking put categories. Um, Trish says, don't you think when you dig deep, it ends up being fear? Well, we're looking at what are the things that drive the fear? What are the beliefs that are keeping you stuck in fear? So you could also look at what categories in my life. So is it money? Is money an automatic fear for me? Is it being alone? Is that an automatic fear for me? Is it, maybe there's an endeavor in your life? Is it your health? So what are the categories that you're already believing things that keep you in fear? So we named a couple of things. Let me just try to taxes. Yeah. Let me just try to put these together so you can look at what your body's doing. So throughout the day, when you notice a sensation in your body, and sometimes it's even something like, oh, I just got a headache, or something just started to hurt. Ask yourself, what was I thinking just before that headache showed up? But if it might be you're driving to work or you're on your way home and you notice, I used to notice, let me give you this example. I grew up in an alcoholic household and it was always chaotic. My mother died when I was 4. My father remarried when I was 5. My stepmother had very poor parenting skills, and I don't think she realized she married an alcoholic. And it started in like fourth, fifth, sixth grade for me. I would start to around 2 o'clock in the afternoon in school get a stomach ache because I didn't want to go home. I didn't know what I was gonna walk into at 3:30 when I walked into the door. And that started in fourth grade, fifth grade. By age 21, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis because that constant issues in my stomach, the clenching down, the fear that I held in my body. And I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody at school. And I certainly didn't go in and go, I went in like scared. And then if something bad was happening, I did whatever I did to cope with it. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when it's like we're going to be lining up to leave at 2:40, my body would start. So you might notice, where do I feel it in my body? What's the thing that's happening? You might notice, like Libby said, what is the thing that I constantly wake up into? Like those are the thoughts, but there's beliefs around those thoughts. That's why they're there. And what was the other one? Categories of issues. So those can give you some clues. And what I would love for you to do between now and next week is every day, it might be at the end of the day, take an assessment. What were the things that came up that put me into fear, and what am I believing about that thing? And you can also do what Kristi said, is start to practice some new things to create new beliefs. But that's the thing, you have to practice them. Those ruts for your tires didn't become a rut because you drove over it one time. It became a deep rut because that's where you always, always go. Who has a question about that? And we do a lot of work. I mean, also, what is this thing you just can't, what is this thing you just can't let go of? Oh, that's another question to ask yourself to get to your beliefs, Libby. Thank you. Um, when I'm doing work with my clients, we talk about like shoveling a path of snow. We just got a bunch of snow here in the last 2 days. You're going to walk down the path that's shoveled. You're not going to tromp through the yard that has snow up to your thighs. You're going to walk the sidewalk that's already shoveled. Even if that sidewalk is getting you to a place that you don't want to go. Well, it's a lot easier to walk on the sidewalk than it is to tromp through this high of snow, so I'm just going to keep going on that sidewalk. It is easier. It takes effort to shovel a new sidewalk and to create a new neural pathway. But that's what you need to do. Before we wrap up this call, how many of you did the journaling exercise that we invited you to do from last week? Did anybody take that on? The 4 questions? You did, Cheryl?
Yes. Yeah, I did it.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I didn't do it every
So I
day.
want to
Yeah, sorry. I did it. I did it probably like 4 times, 3 or 4 times. I didn't do it every day. Um,
Okay.
but it helped. It helped a lot.
How do you know that it helped?
It helped me in the beginning of the morning, I think, to set ideas for myself and how I wanted to behave or act that day. Maybe things I wanted to see for myself, rather than just going through my day and figuring out what I had to do and do it, and run from here to there, task or whatever that means. I had intentions set, and it kept pulling me back, I guess, to be more present. All week, I've been trying to be where I am instead of always, my mind seems to always be elsewhere. Like I'll be vacuuming and thinking what I have to do afterwards, or I'll be on a Zoom meeting and thinking what I have to do right after that. I've been trying to stop that. I've been trying to actually be where I am when I'm there. If my daughter has a impromptu conversation and she's home from college, I stop what I'm doing and I sit with her and I hear her. I hear what she has to say to me, and I'm present. So I think it's helping me.
Good.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. What I want to say is, if I can save you decades of trying things, as I did, one of the most powerful things you can do is to actually practice and embody, not just learn. You can learn till the cows come home. You can take the information and go, I understand neural pathways. I understand that polyvagal chart. Oh, I understand fight or flight. If you do not do what it takes to actually shift the experience in your body, it's the same thing as reading about a vacation versus going on vacation. It's the same thing, right? You can read a brochure, you can imagine being in Paris, you can close your eyes, and all of that, but it will never be the same as when you're actually there. And the things that we're doing, you can learn about them. And that's what I did because I only knew how to be in my intellect. I only knew how to use my mind. And if I learn about it, then that'll work. It's not true. It will not work just to learn about it. And that last question in the journaling opportunity, the journaling exercise, asks you to look at what's stopping me from having it. That's the place. If you don't deeply and truthfully look at what is the stop and then alchemize that, we used that term before, and somebody asked kind of like, what do we mean by that? Alchemy is just taking something and transmuting it into a better version, into something else that's actually better. The way to alchemize what lives in your body, the fear response, the anxiety that's there, is to get really present to it every day. So you don't have to do any of the things we suggest. And what will happen is at the end of 40 days, you'll have learned a lot. Maybe some of it is very new, some of it you've heard 10 times before, and you'll go, oh, I understand it a little better now. But it won't change a thing. So I just want you to be really clear on that because I did it for decades.
Looks like maybe Linda has frozen. So, Kristi, would you like to kind of leave us with any parting wisdom or thoughts here? I know we're just at the top of the hour here, so you've done a tremendous job breaking down a really complex topic. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. And I don't think that I have anything to add, just a reminder kind of the steps to be aware of what's happening in your body. Pay attention to the thoughts that are occurring when you're feeling anxiety and fear rising in your body, right? What are the old beliefs that aren't serving you? What are the new beliefs that I can start to adopt? And how do I act on those beliefs consistently enough that I create those new neural pathways?
That's awesome. Thank you. And
Thank
you
you,
do have the
Kristi.
homework from last week if you want or need that. If you can't find that in email, let us know. And we will be sending you some fresh things to work on this week. But look, this is not meant to be a situation of overwhelm. This is meant to be like you're getting a giant toolbox and you don't have to pull every tool out and try to use everything. If you need a hammer, grab a hammer. If you need a screwdriver, use a screwdriver. If you need pliers, use those. Use as much or as little as what works for you because this is about fasting from fear and anxiety, not about trying to overload yourself and get yourself into a state, okay, as my grandma used to call it. So, with that, please also keep in mind that we're on our Facebook group throughout the week, and I'm doing some prayers there. I know Linda and Kristi are posting there, throughout the week at different times as well. So we're trying to keep it fresh in there. Feel free to invite people if you it's not too late if they want to jump in and get rolling with this. And if this has really resonated with you and you're like, wow, I really need to hear more about what Kristi has to say. Or if I really want to hear more about how Linda does the work she does, you can always reach out to us in direct message or other means and just ask to get together and have a discussion around that. So feel free to reach out to us as a resource. And we're already into this, and that's what's so beautiful about it. And you're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, you're going to have days that you did awesome, you're going to have other days that maybe were not perfect, but perfect is not a thing, as Kristi shared with us tonight. It's not real. So we just dust ourselves off and we go again. And that is where the reward comes in, is when we get up and we go again. And so we love each and every one of you. Come join us next week again, and we'll have some great things to share. And yeah, I think that's it. Linda, I think you're back with us. Do you have anything more to share with us? I know people are jumping on for the next call, but
Yeah. No, we'll wrap it up. I think what I was saying, and I don't know where it froze, but learning about something will not make the difference. You can learn about it and learn about it and learn about it. It does not change your body or your life. And I'm telling you that as someone who spent decades learning. Oh, if I learn, if I get it up here, it's embodying it in your body, doing the practices to shift your body. That's going to make the difference. So not learning about it will not. So these things that we're offering you on a weekly basis are ways to help you not just learn, but actually have the experience. That's all. Okay, I'm going to stop this meeting so that we can start the next one and check your emails. And you know what's weird is even if you've gotten emails from me, if you don't see it in the next 2 days, check spam because I don't know how email works, but somehow that happens. Hey, Sharon.
Good
Okay, I'm gonna,
night.
good night. Thank you, Christy. You rock.
You, everybody.
Christy, you need to stop the recording because that came from your note taking. Can you stop the recording?